Okay, I think we'll get going then, Graham. So I can admit other people as and when they join. So morning, everybody. Thanks for joining today's webinar. Rob Burrell, Graham Fern from Axon here again. So this is the final webinar in this current series. Previous webinars you can catch up on our YouTube channel. So this week we're talking about cybersecurity, and hopefully we'll give you some tips on how to better protect yourselves. So Axon has services to protect you, of course, some of which are based on the actual Microsoft license that you may already be using. So we've been working on some service improvements recently, and our customers will see some of those outputs very soon. For example, we've been looking at providing Microsoft Secure Score to customers. So Secure Score, if you didn't know, is a summary of a company's security posture, and it's based around user behavior amongst other security measurements. But it's a useful starting point to review security and then take the relevant steps to increase security. Phishing training, simulated phishing attacks is another service, and we'll probably cover some of that today, and I can obviously give you more information after the webinar or at the end. So I'll hand over to Graham in a mo. There'll be time for questions as ever at the end. So if you stay on mute, you can ask a question either in the chat window, or you can raise a hand if you have an urgent question or comment as we're going through. Feel free to do so. So if you hover down towards the bottom of your screen, you'll get a taskbar pop up, and you can raise a hand there or ask a question in the chat window. So I'll hand over to Graham.
Morning, everyone. Graham Fern. Thank you, Rob. Okay, just to set a few ground rules. Firstly, the session is being recorded. So if you are asking any questions, and they are of a personal security related nature, please bear that in mind. Everything will end up on YouTube, though I will obviously cut out bits as appropriate before it ends up there. A few other things. I have got a very large screen presenting today, unlike previous weeks. So I would urge everyone to have maximized their screen real estate. Most of what I'm going to show does not have any fine details, so don't worry about kind of being able to see small text. I am usually, you'll see a slide on the right hand side that shows welcome. Things are kind of big picture stuff. But because of the nature of what I've got to show, it's going to be quite busy. Okay. So, and as Rob said, look, raise a hand, tap away in the chat window, ask a question. If Rob can't answer, he'll interrupt me and ask the question for you. And at the end, I'll happily take people's questions by coming off mute and just go from there. Okay, so what are we going to do? I'm going to use some slides on the right hand side of my screen, and on my left hand side of my screen I'm going to use kind of like almost an output. So it's going to be very much demonstration live based and show you stuff for real, and that's how it's going to run. So I'm going to cover both sides of the fence, as it were, because when we talk about security in the world of IT or cyber security, we kind of pretty simply got the good guys and the bad guys. It's kind of Western stuff. So, without further ado, I'm going to make a start. And we're really just talking about your awareness, okay, from a business. And this is all about managing risk, your risk, okay, because this problem, the bad person out there is there, and it's about you assessing those risks. Okay, we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we'll cope with who the ugly is at the end. But we're going to start off initially just to talk about who's bad, okay, and start from that side of the fence and see what our threat is. Who's the person or persons? What are they after? Why are they doing it? How do they do it? So this will probably be, probably enlightening for some, maybe scary for others. Certainly the case if you delve into this, you could run around with tin foil on your head and get very paranoid. So please balance everything here, but do accept the fact there's some realities. Okay. So let's just talk about the hacker. You know, who are these people? And by the way, I'm going to turn my camera off. I should have said that before. The reason I'm going to turn that off is that my head's going to be swinging wildly around. So look at all the many screens I've got here. It'll just be very distracting for you. So I'm going to turn that off now. Okay, so, who is this person? Why? Well, I think we can probably all guess why they do it. But let me just explain who there is. There's the black hat hacker, who really is on the wrong side of the fence. He's pushing the boundaries of law and sometimes way over the boundaries. You then have the white hat hacker, who is arguably on the right side of the fence because they're trying to defeat the black hat hacker. And then you have grey hat hackers, and they're the confused poor souls that don't know which side of the fence they sit. And that is actually quite common. Some of the recent prosecutions that have occurred to do with Myra Botnet, I'll explain that in a second. Actually, the guy who was the hero was also the villain. He was part of the problem, but he was also part of the solution. So he was a classic grey hat hacker. Okay, so the motivation is typically money, obviously, as ever. It's the old crime pays problem. And when I say pay, there's more money in hacking than there is doing Class A drugs by a long, long way. These numbers are a little out of date, but a kind of pretty low-level hacking group can easily earn, best estimates, somewhere around $350,000 to $400,000 a month through extracting money off people. Even a poor old script kiddie, and a script kiddie is a person who can't really call themselves a real hacker because all they do is they go online, they know how to get to the parts of the internet, the dark web as it's referred to, find the resources, use tools available to them. They don't really have any skill. They're just using software to do it for them. Or, believe it or not, they can even rent hackers. Okay, and even after renting those services, they can make in the region of $80,000 a month. Okay, even having paid a rental service of maybe $6,000 to $8,000. So you can see money is a motivator, clearly. Then we get the political side of life, the hacktivist, the person who's doing it perhaps, they don't like some big oil giant because they've got very green focused agenda. We've then obviously got the kind of country level type stuff where we've seen in the press recently. So there's a whole bunch of motivations, but largely for typically it's money, 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 okay, by the majority. And actually at the end of last year, there was a hacking group retired, and the estimates, and they are estimates, that they announced their retirement with the cheek of it. Okay, so they announced their retirement and sold their intellectual property for a good sum. But they estimate when they retired that they had accrued over $600 million. Okay, no wonder they retired. Okay, that's pretty good going, isn't it? So these people are real. They do it for a good reason in their mind, and that's about money largely. How do they do it? Okay, well, largely what they do is they try and get your machines infected with what we'll refer as malware, which covers a lot of things, but let's just deal with that one word, malware. And they like to create things called botnets. You might have heard that on the news. The NHS was hit many years ago by a botnet. So it is a network of robots, and those robots are your computers, your home computer. Heck, it could even be a webcam. And in fact, some webcams have been very easy meat for these people. So what they do is they get into these machines, they infect them with malware. You don't know they're infected. And then they use the combined computing power of millions and millions of devices and make themselves supercomputers. You don't know you're infected. They can then rent that service out or use it for themselves to perform mass events, whether that's a denial of service. We've had some recent ones in the press very recently. And in fact, yesterday, Garmin were hit with ransomware and have been down ever since. They've been down for 48 hours. Bearing in mind, they provide aviation services, not only just health and fitness and sailing, and update the maps to airline pilots on their iPads. So it has a big impact. So they create these botnets and then they hire them out and then they attack people. And let's have a laugh. So this is a real-time map provided by Kaspersky, and it is showing in real time, it's a few minutes behind activity, and this is all malicious activity happening around the globe. I shall just focus it around Europe for the moment. It's a pretty crazy map. It looks very pretty. It's completely useless in terms of producing any data from it, realistically. But I think at least anyone here could appreciate that what you see on that screen is nasty stuff happening in real time. Okay. And if we want to have a look at a few statistics, quite interesting. This is bringing up just through Kaspersky's data, not all world data, detections per second. And you can see that we're dealing somewhere around 150 at the higher end of detections per second, some at the lower end of 50. We can see the most infected country today, and it does change, is Russia, then China, Vietnam. We can start to look at the world, and interestingly, the more kind of less developed nations are easy meat these days because they've figured computers are useful, but they've no idea what security is. Might be operating older equipment, so they're easy meat, and they just get hammered. Okay. What is interesting though is if I look down here, this list here, this one amuses me greatly because number 2 in the list is a tool that you can download off the internet for trying to crack Microsoft Office, Word, Excel to get a free copy of that software by injecting a fake key in, okay, or breaking that security. And ironically, the people that are downloading it are actually managing to infect their machine to buy themselves or save themselves a few quid. In fact, they could probably be costing themselves a few quid. So the irony there, you couldn't write. So it really is happening all the time, 24/7. Let's not be naive about it. So let me just ask, so it's going on. We know those people exist, but what about the threat to you? Who is the real threat to you? Let's bring this closer to a business. Okay. Right. So let's just think about this. Jokes apart, we know that this has been going on and it's just been hit the news big style. But let's not be naive. This has been going on forever. So yes, it's in the news at the moment, but not a threat to us particularly, unless you happen to work in an industry that would be affected by it and you're trying to find the next vaccine for the coronavirus. Okay. And I do make a joke here, but you know, who is this? Who is the threat? And I am really just alluding to the fact you've got all these people around the world, people around you, staff in your office, who are your threat? Well, what about the hacker? Well, he's a threat, surely. Well, actually, no. Go and get a mirror, look in it, and point the finger at yourself. Now, I make that as a bold statement, but the evidence I'm now about to produce will back me up. Now, I don't take everyone on this call as that you all fall into this category, but you need to understand by percentage globally, the average person is, it's just mad, almost to a point of stupidity. Okay, so I cannot stress that enough because the evidence is there to be seen. And that's what I'm going to do next. So if you just bear with me whilst I get myself set up. And what I'll do is I'll just bring up a nice picture here just to do it. And then I'm going to bring up some real world stuff. So here we go. This actually was taken from, basically it was on TV. It was a live broadcast. It was to do with a hurricane coming in to Guam, Honolulu area. And there you go. It's all on the telly. And if you bother to zoom in, bottom right-hand side of that, you'll notice there's a post-it note, which will be very difficult for you to see, but don't worry. It says on the post-it note, password, warning point 2, broadcast nationally, well, to the whole of the United States anyway. So people do this, okay? It is not uncommon. And therefore, the security of your system is clearly compromised, which is madness. So let's talk about good old damn passwords then. So I've got some real world stuff here. So on the dark web, there is a collection of files where basically the bad guys have collated all of the files of everyone's lost data into a big file. And this file is getting bigger and bigger by the month. I have to say, towards the beginning of this year, downloaded the file from the dark web. It's got about just under 2 million records in it. Okay, it's now way in excess of that, way in excess. So it's a big old file. Now, where did they get all these passwords from? Okay, well, they get it from breaches, loss of your data. So if you look on the left-hand side of my screen, you can see these are data breaches going back 2009, and you can see the bubbles. The size of the bubble is the bigger kind of the impact. Ironically, Sony on the kind of slight right-hand side of there, they were breached by their own people, because you can imagine there's probably a few gamers that have probably got an undertone of script kiddies in them, and Sony did something they didn't like, and next thing they know, they were hacked. So let's fast forward that though to now. If a picture could speak 1,000 words. Okay, it's 2020. We're not even through the year yet, and the data loss is phenomenal. So your passwords, I absolutely guarantee everyone on this call, almost could guarantee, your personal email address, most likely if you've used any of these services over the many years, is available on the dark web, which means people with enough skill have got your password. That would include me. Okay. So if you're the type of person that reuses the same password for lots of different websites, you're heading for a car crash. Okay. Point one. So let's not mess around here. Let's go another step further. I'm just going to bring up an Excel file here. This Excel file here has what appears to be a random jumbling of numbers and letters. They are an encrypted data. This is encrypted data. Okay, I'm just going to copy that. And these were taken from that 1.7 million entry file, and then all sorted into the most kind of used, i.e. the same encryption code. Okay, I'm now going to go to a freely available website. I've pasted them in there. I'm just going to have to put this capture check in to say I'm not a machine. And I'm going to search for it. Okay, sorry, it's because I've been sat here waiting to do this morning, so I'll have to refresh the page. Sorry about this. Okay, so if you look at the right-hand side of the encryption key, these have been decrypted, not in real time, but it's fair to say even if I needed to, they'd be decrypted in a similar speed that was done. I would like to point out of the database that I've managed to pull files out, we know that globally that very top password 12345678990 is used by, in the current database, 23 million people. Okay, if I go down that top 12, it accounts for a vast percentage of all global passwords. And there's not much complex in there. Amazon got a little bad press because their Ring cameras got hacked. All the people that were hacked all had common passwords and were all using passwords in this top 10. Is it a wonder they got their camera hacked? Not really. So there we go. 123456, all ones. Password is in there. Can you believe? Okay, QWERTY. Can you believe? It is mental. Okay, so what happens when these files are all done? Then the hackers create this here, and I appreciate this very small text for you to see, and I don't really need you to see it, but it's fair to say if you look at the scroll bar on the right hand side as I'm scrolling down here, it's hardly moving. Okay, because in this ridiculously big file are 2 million records all being pushed together to create a dictionary attack to attack a system. I downloaded this. It's called darkcode.csv. It has been pre-compiled so that someone with limited skill can put it into a system and use these passwords, which are all common passwords, which have been used by people at some point, whatever they are. As you can see, scroll forever. I mean, there's all sorts in here to do with cartoon characters, fables, Shakespeare, you name it. It's all in here. So are we to blame? Yeah, okay, the hacker does it, but we don't have to make it easy. Heck, you know, when 23 million people are using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, crazy world. So, just done the demo. Apologies for that. Slightly out of sync on my slides. Let's just say we'll cover off how we protect ourselves from this. And now let's move on. So passwords are a massive, massive problem. I am going to use a phrase called a pass phrase, not a password. And I will talk about this in a moment when I get to the good side, shall we say. Okay. And when I say about this passphrase, is everyone should be using a phrase, not a word, in order to secure anything of value to them. Okay. Now there are complexities of the fact that we don't want to use the same password for every website. So yeah, it's a bit of a challenge here, isn't it? So we'll talk about how we deal with that. And there are many ways you can apply a logic to passphrases, that you could have independent passphrases for each service you use. I'll give you an example. If I was going to Amazon, I might choose to put at the beginning, middle, or end some sort of code that tells me that it's Amazon. So if I'm going to Amazon, I might put AMA at the beginning, middle, or end. That I know that. If I go to the BBC and I'm signing in, I might have BBC as my code. So I've got some phrase, I don't know, fast and furious, I don't know, whatever. And then I append maybe a PIN number, maybe my PIN number to my credit card, because I'm not going to give that to anyone. Please don't use a date of birth, because I'll show you just how easy that is to get. Okay, so please just think about those. Must be a phrase, put something unique in there, but there are other ways also. I've also just put a password in there as well, which looks really tempting, that it looks really, really good. Okay, it looks complicated. It's not. It's the top row of the numbers on your keyboard. It's frighteningly simple. Okay, so how can you help yourself? If you look on my left screen, some of you might go, well, this isn't good. I'm putting in passwords into a website. Yes, you are, but no data leaves this actual website. It's written by a security analyst who works for a company called Dashlane, who provide a product called a password manager. All the code that makes this work is available freely online, and it can be inspected. And trust me, nothing leaves your web browser. So if I just type in a common one of the passwords on that top 12 I decrypted, you can see it will be instantly decrypted. I'm just going to put fast and furious in here, and I've just typed fast and furious. I haven't put any special characters in, none. All right, so 4 million years, and now I'm going to pretend this is for Amazon. I'm going to put AMA at the end. Oh, 1 quadrillion years. I think I'm safe. I've not put any special characters in there, interestingly. But let me put this, the one that's on my other screen on the other side. So that complex exclamation at sign, pound, dollar, percent, etc., 3 minutes, even though it's full of special characters. Hopefully that's a little bit of a lesson for everyone. Okay, passwords don't have to be massively complicated. They just need not to be a dictionary word. Okay, and if you also want to just see, here's another website, haveibeenpawned.com. I'm just going to type in my work email address, and this will allude to the fact if you think you're safe, you're not. Okay. Oh yeah, I've been done. Okay. There we go. I'm in collection 1, which is a large credential stuffing list, which is what we were discussing before. All passwords used to hijack accounts. It contains 2.7 billion records. A billion. Okay. So I'm on that list. My work email address, which means that someone's got a work passwords, because I've registered with Adobe, which I have years and years ago. Okay, 2013, they were breached. So we all almost will have suffered a breach because someone lost our data. Important stuff. I hope you agree. Okay, let's just talk about email. The source of all evil. I detest it. It's from a security person's point of view. It's the biggest problem that we have. 85% of all global email is junk. Okay, that leaves a very small proportion of it that's actually any use. So you can't trust it. We know that. That's why we spend lots of money on junk filters and spam filtering and phishing filtering. And we're going to spend all this money to protect ourselves from the people that can use this as a method to extract money from us. The methods that you will be familiar with is basically phishing, is a word frequently used, okay, which is basically bulk emails sent out to millions of people, offering them something. It might be the latest guidance for COVID. It might be a tax rebate from the tax office. It might be a TV license rebate. They always time it perfectly, and they always get a good, 1 to 2% take up, which is fine when you send it to 2 million people. And guess what? They part with their money. If I want to get smarter and I really, really want to go for it, then I can spearfish, and I go for someone specific. Excuse me. Let's have a drink of water. Otherwise I'm going to sound like Barry White. I've had experience of this happening where a boss of a company ended up losing over £20,000, and it was done through email, because what the actual hacker managed to do was effectively get the HR department to change his bank details legitimately, because he got control of his email, watched everything happening, moved things backwards and forwards. He didn't know anything was going on. And basically some large payout, whatever it was, disappeared. Okay, so cannot trust email, even from people you think you trust. So it is a problem, and we spend a lot of time trying to protect ourselves from email. I don't really need to spell this out, but any place you go to, you click on a website, go to a website, follow an email link, which is dangerous. Make sure that there's always an S in front of it. Always never put any data into any online form if it does not have that S and a padlock in the web browser at the top of it. Okay, if you look on my left-hand screen, it'd be very difficult for you to see. There's a little padlock at the top here, which tells me it's secure. Need to tell you that, really. So they send you these. Okay, what's the purpose of sending you all these emails? To get malware on your machine. Okay, and when they get malware on your machine, they don't want you to know you've got malware on your machine. Okay, because that doesn't help, because then someone from IT will come clean it. What they want to do is remain undetected, and not. The days are gone of destroying computers, really. I know there's ransomware, but even that's for money purposes. So if I'm going to get something on a machine, I want it to persist and create this botnet, so I've got power. Okay, so I can build this big super network of computers. So most of the time this malware goes on, it remains undetected by you, and that's for good reason. Okay. The other thing we can have is this phishing attempt, and what we're trying to do is gather information from you for surveillance purposes, for intelligence gathering purposes, because the more information I can get from someone, the more likely I can make a genuine spear phishing attack look real. Okay, so there's lots of reasons, and it's all very tactical in that sense. Okay, so let's just talk actually about this next point, which is the social engineering side. Okay, and we're going to come on to the kind of the kind of tools that are available. So here we have a picture of what looks like a USB drive, and all I'm going to do, just to prove again to you that none of this is fantasy, is I'm going to bring up my phone and my camera. I'm just going to bring my camera back. I'll do. Okay, and apologies as I'm now leaning down and moving around as I'm picking stuff up off the floor. So here we go. We've all seen one of these things before. It's just a network, adapter, USB at one end, Ethernet on the other, plug it in. Pretty benign. Go to Amazon, you'll find these for sale. Okay, pretty straightforward. Here we go. Got one I prepared earlier. Okay, This one is specifically constructed. It's for my purposes for demonstration. It works. Okay, but actually in there is a storage card. Okay, this actually is a reconnaissance tool. It will capture all data moving over your network card, all data, and I can intercept it all and take remote control of the machine that this is plugged in. Okay, let's take that a step further. All used USB drives, right? This came with its cover on, nice Axon cover. You can trust us, honest, we're good people. Okay, so there's a USB drive. Let me split it in half. It's not a USB drive, really. Okay, it's got a storage card in. It's that one you see on the screen. Okay, it's got a rubber ducky. Yeah, there's always got to be a fancy name, isn't there, in the hacking world? Okay, if I plug that into a computer in its current format, it will extract, in about 6 seconds, it will extract all your passwords that you've saved in your web browser. Okay, 6 seconds. That's it. So this stuff exists, clearly, because it's sat on my desk. So top point to take from this, just don't plug stuff in. You don't know what it is, why it is. And let's just, for a bit of fun, look at some of the other stuff. Looks like a USB drive, behaves like a USB drive completely. It's got a 3-position switch on the top, okay, middle, left and right. It's actually a full Linux computer. It's got a processor, RAM, hard drive, everything in there. I don't want to tell you what you can do with that, but plug that in a machine, slide the switch, light flashes. I can program this light to tell me whether it's completed its mission, as it were, and then I know I can remove it and it will have done its job, whatever that job is. Another one here, if you want to do a bit of corporate espionage, put this in a comms room, where there are servers, data in, data out. Power it off a mobile phone charger, or put a USB battery into it. One of those ones we charge our phones with. Captures all the data. Thank you very much. Loads of them. This thing here, Wi-Fi. Mimics Wi-Fi, so I can pretend to be your Wi-Fi. In fact, you go into me and I just sit in the middle, capture everything between the two. So this stuff really exists. It's called social engineering. It's a whole art form, but the whole purpose of that is to gather information to then perhaps hit on someone convincingly for a spear phishing attack in order to get money off you. Okay, so how does the person actually go about this? Well, believe it or not, this is probably the most crackers thing, is there is an actual operating system like Windows, that is available to a hacker. Well, God, we've got to have a look at that, haven't we? So here we go. Here it is now. I'm just going to log in. It's on the left-hand side. Hopefully you can see it. Okay, so let's just have a look at a few things here. I'm just going to resize this window here. So I am on a basically an operating system that is designed to hack. And if you don't believe me, let's have a look at what's installed on it. So this is all the bad guy tools. Top left-hand side, these are all applications. I can expand these up for more. Information gathering, number 2 is vulnerability scanning. 3 is to crack into web applications, that means websites. 4 is to crack into databases, SQL databases, etc. 5 is for password cracking, where you use those dictionaries with a 2 million entries in, etc., and stuff them into there. Wireless hacking, number 6. Number 7, reverse engineering. Number 8, exploitation. Okay, 9 is sniffing. 10 is post-exploitation. 11, forensics, reporting. 13, SET, social engineering tool set. Okay, let's just have a laugh. Let's have a look in here. So let's go and run this one here. Okay, I appreciate it'll be small text to you guys, but there's some choices in here, and it says, number 1, do I want to perform some social engineering attacks? 2, do I want to do some penetration testing, etc.? Because of course these tools can be used by the good guys as well as the bad guys, just to make sure everything's good. So I'm going to choose 1. Do I want to do a spear phishing attack? Do I want to create an infectious media generator? Do I want to create a payload? Do I want to do a mass mailer attack? Let's see, mass mailer attack. Do I want to do to a single or do I want to do a mass? Yeah. And then it says, right, this is, you've got to start providing the information in order to do it. There you go, built in. So have a look at the one above. This one here is to create password lists. And what I can put in here is name of someone. Yeah. And it's basically just asking for information. Just make this up. Get the idea. And so I've put in some basic information. Obviously, I'd have done my homework perhaps. Do I want to add some keywords? I'm not going to act to it. Calls you the victim. No. Do I want to have special characters? Well, might as well. Everyone loves a few special characters these days. Do I want to put some random numbers at the end? Yeah, people love to put date of birth, so why not? But I have already put the date of birth in, so it would have already put those in, but I could choose to put those in. I'm going to say yes. Do I want leap mode, where it means, transfers letters to numbers? It's like a code breaking thing. Most people don't think that, so I'm not going to think no. Right, it's done. So it's created me a password file. Okay, done. Should be in my home area. There it is, bob.txt. There you go, it's created me a password list that I could then go and chuck into one of those applications and have a go on all the variances of, just to show you. Right, okay, so whilst we're also here, we'll also look at, this is, people always ask about the dark web. Okay, I actually, before this, prepared myself, and my machine is coming out from a different country to start with, my whole machine. And then I have joined into what's called the Tor network, which is a network for anonymous access to the dark web, the underweb, call it what you want. It's unindexed. It's not, does no Google index of the dark web. So you've got to know where you're going. You can't just search for stuff. But I'm going through these countries, United Kingdom, Germany, France. I've actually started in another country in the first place. So I am secure at this point in time. Okay, so I'm totally anonymous, and this is what the hackers are doing, so they can't be tracked. They take more precautions than I'm taking, a lot more. But from here, I can rent a hacker, okay, with all their skills, even their price. I can buy it now in Bitcoin, okay. Small job, yeah, I want a big job, large job, multiple days, yeah. Sites are protected from denial of service. Yeah, so it's all down there. You can choose. Scaringly. Want to buy a gun? I don't know where you get it delivered to. No idea. But anyway, it's there. And this all sits, and there are many ways to get to the dark web. Many, I'm showing you one. It's very visual, so it's easy to see. Okay, there's lots of chat rooms. There's lots of things that happen through this to remain anonymous. Now, just to show you, the actual purpose of this isn't all evil. Okay, there are many reasons why this has a good reason to exist. You might be someone in, I don't know, a foreign nation state, and you need to be anonymous because otherwise you'll be enemy of that state, but actually you're trying to do something good. So there are good reasons this exists, not just bad. But I have actually gone to a public website, and it's actually saying here that you've jumped out of, and it's saying there's an Onion site available. Yeah, they're all called Onion sites. And if you look here, the web address is very difficult to see. I appreciate they're not easily memorable, and they all end in .onion. There you go, the dark web for you, quick, fast, and furious. Okay, because we're going to fast run out of time because this is a big subject. Okay, so that really is my very quick fast fire demo. There's one thing I do actually want to show you, one last thing when we talk about intelligence gathering. Okay, I'm just going to show you something very quickly. So it is interesting. Wrong one, sorry, I didn't want that. Don't worry, I'll get rid of that. So I'm just going to do something to show you how quick Still want domain. Okay, so I'm just going to drag on here an item. I'm just going to alter it. I'm going to put in Axon. Okay, I'm going to OK that, and I'm going to tell the system to execute this. Now, all I want you to appreciate is the amount of intelligence. Look what's happening as it's building up on this slide here. I'm using technology to go away and do my social engineering for me. Okay, that's the start of my journey. I've already pulled a whole ton of intelligence on one piece of information. It is amazing how much information we make available to the world. Yeah, it's mental, whether it's Facebook or what have you. Okay, it's crazy, crazy, crazy. So just an example. I just want to show you that. And the other one I want to show you whilst we're here, before I get onto the good guys stuff, is I want to show you this. You can go to Google, and if you know what you want to put into Google, you can actually ask Google questions that are really good for hackers. And I asked a question, and actually embedded in the response here is the password. Okay, because the web developer's been lazy and doesn't know the fact that that needs to be hashed out and hidden. But there you go. So Google, hacker's friend. Okay, because we make mistakes as humans and don't look after what we're doing and think about it scarily. Okay, so there you go. A few things I just thought I'd fire at you at the end of that. So we now really just very kind of need to go through how do we actually cope with this, because we've got to talk about the good side. So we know the bad guys have got lots of information available to them at very low cost. There's lots of tools available for them to do this work. There's a lot of highly paid people who are very intelligent who are willing to give this a go. So how do we stop them? Because this is a war, okay? And it's going on behind the curtains, as it were. So let's just talk about that. We need solutions. We need to get around these problems. Well, let's start with the first. I said about passphrases and passwords. If you haven't got a password manager, ... why not? ... question mark. Okay, they are free. As a business, you can pay a few pounds per user per month. As a business, every business should have all the passwords they use for the business in a password manager, secured down without any doubt. There isn't a debate on that one. If you want to put it in an Excel file or write it in a notepad, fine. I wouldn't say that's quite as good. But here we go. Password manager is what I'll say to you. I use it every day. I have one on my machine. You know, we as a business use it, but I use it personally. My wife, my son all use it. So I'm not lying to you, because there you can see it says LastPass. There it sits. I'm not a reseller of LastPass either. Okay, it's just one of the products that's good. You go and do your own research. If you put Password Manager into a search engine, you will find more than enough information available to you. Okay, so I'll just close that down. I'll probably end up coming back to it in a second, but we'll stop it because it's a distraction. So you should all have that. Now let's talk about your kind of business side of life. Most people on this call probably have Office 365, and that's probably all they have got. Some on this call will have other products such as enterprise mobility and security. You can see where this is going with those words in there, particularly the word security. And if you look at the top of my slide on the right, there is a picture of Office 365 encapsulated in a grey cloud that says Microsoft 365, because what Microsoft have done is Office 365 plus enterprise mobility and security is called Microsoft 365. Okay, so basically this is the new kid on the block. Office 365 is a bit old school. Because the threat's there, there's now a product that encapsulates the tools that you need in order to protect yourself. So that's just information for those that, from a licensing point of view, or you can go and add this product on to your existing subscription. It will effectively almost achieve the same thing. So there you go. So that's the licensing bit done, so everyone knows. When you have got your Office 365 and we talk about security, everybody who has Office 365 can enable multi-factor authentication. Any company or person who isn't using multi-factor authentication is mad. Okay, it just needs to be on. There isn't any ifs or maybes. It just needs to be on, because that defeats the hacker unless it's MI5 following you. And if they are, I think you've got a bigger problem and you've probably got something to hide. But for the rest of us, the token of the multi-factor defeats the hacker, because even if they know your password, they don't have your mobile phone in their hand. Therefore, they've lost. Okay, so again, I'll just quickly show you and just bring up the fact that we all need to have this. So I'm using an authenticator. I'm using biometric security, obviously face finger these days on these modern devices. I'm not going to be giving anything away in here, but basically you can see things in here. And I wasn't lying to you. You can see I've got LastPass at work has multi-factor. My LastPass personal has multi-factor. My Amazon account has multi-factor. The list goes on. I could scroll up and down this list. I have a whole load of stuff. So basically, in order for me to get access to stuff that I want, I need to have my phone available to me, because it provides and prompts me when I sign in to authenticate that it's me. Okay, so anyone on this call, personal life or business life, on any account you value, you need a good passphrase and you need multi-factor authentication on your Amazon account, your Twitter account, your Facebook account, your Outlook.com account, your work account. I don't care. It needs to be on everything. And actually, for those that have a Microsoft account, Office 365 and or Outlook.com accounts, and I think Google now, you can actually go passwordless. Okay, where you don't have a password at all, and it totally relies on you putting your face or finger on your reader on your phone in order to sign you in. So therefore, you got rid of the problem of needing a password. So let's just now talk about, I'm going to show a few products. This is just a nerdy list of things that I would be talking to people. I wouldn't talk to them about the product, but these are the product names that actually end up helping companies defeat the bad guys. So things called advanced threat protection, multi-factor authentication, I've mentioned. Talked about this enterprise mobility and security. Okay, I've talked about Microsoft 365. I have anti-spam stuff, and Rob did mention I will talk about the fact that we can do the spoofing testing of people by training and educating staff. That's probably close on the most important. And of course, you've got to have the necessary support in order for that to be actually worthwhile in doing. So what I'm going to do is just say a couple of things, and then I'm going to do some more demonstrations, because now is that good time. So unfortunately, it's been signed out of my Windows. That's always good. So let me just see ones I am signed into still, and I will come back to them. Let's start here. Yep. Okay, so first and foremost, there are products, and I'm not going to go into the licenses. I'm just going to point out where the system will sit and watch what's going on in the background. And for an example, potential ransomware activity. Okay, so in Office 365, we've got a policy set that is looking for potential ransomware activity, okay, coming into our business. Okay, so it wants me to sign in. So you're going to now see me use biometrics. You can see it wants my fingerprint. And now it's going to want me to multi-factor authentication. So I'm going to do that on my phone. So there you go. You've seen that one in real world. So again, fingerprint required on my phone. So lots of fingerprints. I don't think anyone's going to get past all of that easily. Sorry about that. Shows I've been talking too long. So let's just go back to here. And we were just looking, log in from a risky IP address. Now, a risky IP address would be me on the Tor network. Why would anyone at work be on that? Okay, so it would alert me. But let's just stick with this ransomware activity. So we have a policy. Doesn't matter what's in it. It's not an interest to you. Bit that matters down here is that we kick people out straight away. As soon as anything happens, bang, your account's closed. You're just disconnected from the system. Okay, and to prove this, here, this is it actually working in real time. So it's one of our developers, okay, working on a product. and he was testing something, and you will notice that the time periods of the logons are within a minute, and no human can do it like that. The system, it was failed because it wasn't actually going through the correct procedures, so it instantly locked him out. Okay, I got a notification he was locked out. Okay, it was easily proved what it was. We knew what, bit of investigation to make sure it wasn't something malicious. So it only took a couple of minutes to get to that point, and then we could obviously unlock his account. But I'd rather he's locked out and he's not perhaps infecting all of our files or something nasty happening than what was the opposite case. So, and another one here is the system is telling me about recent breaches. And if you're not aware, Twitter was breached recently. It's all in the press. So it's basically going, did you know? Yeah, Twitter got breached the other day. So you've got a lot of tools, and here's some more just to give you some flavors of what is happening in here. So this system here is watching everything that's happening in our business, about emails coming in, and it's performing automation. And you can see it's saying that we're saving lots of hours, apparently, according to Microsoft, because it's doing this for us. Okay, and it's soft deleting emails. That's basically stuff it doesn't like, and it's getting rid of them. Here we go. Global threat detections, 65 billion. Okay, billion weekly. Let's have a look in here. We're being targeted by phishing campaigns. Quite. Mike is top of the list. He's been actively targeted. Well, that's no surprise. Why? He's the financial person in the business. He's a director. Well known, you know, company's house, all the rest of it. He has been suffered in breaches like I have and everyone else has. So he's been actively targeted. So we actively have to protect him. Okay, because if some of this stuff gets through and he clicks on it, could be nasty. Okay, so we're just watching everything that's going on here. Okay, all the behaviors. Are people trying to spoof Axon, pretend to be us, or pretending to be someone who isn't someone because the emails aren't coming from the right location? And I'm sure some of you have suffered emails going into quarantine and going, well, it's from a legitimate person. It's usually actually because they've not got their systems set up right and they are actually seen as spoofing. Okay, so this is just doesn't really matter. It's just bringing up stuff here where it's all spoofing. Okay, where it's not right. Spotify, not spelt right, music.com. Yeah, all of that type of stuff to try and con you into what's going on. Okay, so we have all of these in place to protect us from the bad guys getting in. Okay, and then we want to be looking at how well we're doing with this and our compliance with GDPR. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Yeah. So we want to know how well we're doing in these areas, and look at our green bar for GDPR. We've got a lot of non-compliant apps, but that's some of the times nothing you can do about those. It's about how you behave. Okay, so lots of alerts. Okay, we've got people protected by deletion policies, archiving, retention policies, all set in place. So again, if nasty things happen, we've got retention set in place. Everything is there to protect us against all of the things that might happen. Okay, so, and then everybody, Rob did mention this, there is Secure Score, okay, and Secure Score really is looking at all of the things that you could do, okay, in order to make your company more secure, okay, and, okay, some of these things in this list, they're a little bit, I'm going to say they're false positives. We actually have, like this one, this cloud app security, we actually have that set up and it's saying that it needs to be done. It is done, but it hasn't given us the points. That's fine. It's not that bothers me. It's the fact that it's given me the choice of these are the things I need to be looking at. Okay, so the other thing I just want to point out, and I just want to also show you on the other side, is actually how we also educate users. Okay, so what I'll do is we play this game with our staff and with customers. And I know there are customers on this call actually who have this very system in place. Okay, and what we do is we educate people by sending them effectively good phishing and spear phishing emails, but they're actually a test and they're controlled by us. Okay, so we spend all our time blocking them, and then we let these ones deliberately through randomly at random periods to see if people fall for it. So here's one that's been sent, okay, and it looks pretty good, really. There are some hints in here as to that it's not right, but this is the game. People have ever had quarantines, okay, and what we're doing is sending people emails saying, hey, you've got quarantine emails to release, and if you look at the email address, it's Microsoft is spelt wrong. So it's educating staff, and the whole purpose is if they make mistakes and they click on things here, they're then offered a short 15-minute online training session in order to keep them educated and all you protected, because I'll call it the human firewall. They are your biggest problem, therefore they deserve the most amount of attention in order to protect them. And if they happen to fall for it all the way, they'll end up on a web page which will ask them for their credentials. Looks pretty genuine. Microsoft sign-in page. It's not. Okay, it won't actually capture their credentials because that wouldn't be good. But it will tell us, and then in turn be able to tell you effectively who poses the biggest risk in terms of the business. So what we end up with is effectively a risk analysis of the business, okay? And it gives you an idea, there was obviously, what's happening, clicks, attachments have been opened, etc. So it's giving you some real-time information on what's happening. So is this actual business doing really, really well? Okay, that's low. You typically see 30%, okay, of people in a business will just click anything. Okay, so we have on the good side of life a lot of tools all built into the system around the Office 365 Security Compliance Center, which is driven by the licenses you own. Okay, I hope you will appreciate that these services here are above and beyond my printer isn't working, okay, and Word isn't opening. This is a totally different service offering to provide a totally different service because it requires a different skill set, a different mindset from our technology point of view, because we've got to obviously configure this, but also be watching what's going on in the bad side of the world, shall we say. But you all have available to you these products to a lesser or greater degree, depending on your license. And I will certainly finish off today and say, everyone on this call should walk away from here, be educated to the fact the threat is real. No one should be using passwords, but they should be using passphrases. You need to ensure all your staff are educated and you are educated. You consider, if not almost insist on the idea of a password manager in your life, personal life or business life. And you almost, no, it's not almost, you must have multi-factor authentication turned on. Okay, there are some others I could go into, but I'm not going to go to the point. If you take those away at this point in time, that's a good start. Yes, and we'd take it from there. But there are other steps that could be followed also on top of that. I'm getting close to my time limit, and as you can see, this is all a point about, there's a lot in this, and there's a lot of education involved. Okay, and it is about educating staff. Okay, making sure they understand the risk. Okay, cybersecurity training. It is actually a data protection, or I'll call it GDPR, and you can say, well, GDPR goes at the end of this year. Yes, it does, but it's going to be replaced by a data protection bill. The data protection bill is actually a copy and paste of GDPR, and we're still going to obviously be working in Europe, so we're still going to have to work towards it anyway. And it is a requirement that all staff are trained in data privacy and security matters. So there is an education piece. Okay, make sure you have the right software in order to achieve that, whether that's software to simulate phishing attacks on your staff, whether that's the right software to see what's going on, all the security options that we can put in place. Okay, all of those need to be considered. Okay, and I will just, before I wrap up, just show one last bit in the back end, which most people never really see. There is a product called Azure Active Directory. I'm not going to go into all of the details of this. As you can clearly see, it's lots and lots of information. But I want to point out into here that I have rules that can change behavior. I've got my secure score. I've got risky users, risky sign-in, risk detections. Okay, so the system is actually actively going through this here. They're all low to medium. That's fine. They provide me no risk. Okay, I look at risky sign-ins. Great. So basically, none of my staff are actually causing me any concern at this point. Okay, but then I have proactive approaches to how I am protecting things. So I'll give you an example. I am blocking the ability to get to our services from basically a whole blocked load of countries. Okay, so I block by I have hundreds of countries that are basically you just can't get to our systems, because why would someone be in China trying to do send some emails for Axon? Well, they won't. So Russia, no, they won't. Maldives, well, if you're on holiday, what are you doing? Okay, the list goes on. So we take some active approaches, and we do this for customers as well right now. So having that right software, which is what my slide on the right is really saying, is have the right software is going to be your reduction of risk. Okay. Said this already. Who are you going to turn to for any of those options that you see there? So you will have to consider, if you take security as an important aspect to your business, that there will need to be some help, guidance, advice, support, etc. So in summary, getting to the end here, the threat's real because we're quite weak. Businesses tend to put no value on security whatsoever. I mean, take Equifax, okay? I will actually, just while we're here, I think I have the actual document that was written about Equifax. This is quite fascinating, if not quite scary. Do I have it? I know where it is. Sorry, I will get this because this is quite interesting. He says, do I have it? Do I have it? Yes, I do. Let me bring this on screen. I will just read this out to you. So the criminals broke into Equifax on May the 13th. Okay, the business was warned in March of that year by Homeland Security that IT infrastructure was insecure. The government told them that they had a hole in their system, and they even listed what it was. Okay, so the hackers were in on the 10th of March, bearing in mind they were warned in March, okay, and May, so they had at least 2 months. The company had installed equipment to inspect network traffic, but the IT department had failed to renew the certificate that made it work. Okay, so 2 massive problems. Poor internal processes, software wasn't patched, the hackers got in, took everything out because they hadn't actually paid the money to keep the system that protected them working. And hey presto, 1.5 million people had all their financial information stolen. So threat's real, okay? Understand your business risks. Follow these guidelines. Think of a passphrase, not a word. Remember to always be using secure transmissions on the World Wide Web, HTTPS. Always be cautious and suspicious. Run around with some foil on your head. That's probably a not bad plan to take when it comes to your business. If anyone has a mistake, it should be encouraged in the business that they report it quickly and are not chastised, because it's far easier to deal with quickly than them trying to hide it. If you're not sure, make sure you've got someone to ask. Use a password manager. Use multi-factor authentication. Have the right software. Have the right support. Make sure you've educated your staff. Okay. Just remember, these are real data. 1 in 5 will share passwords over a text or an email. 59% will allow someone else to log onto their computer for them or as them. 55% admitted on clicking on links out of curiosity they didn't recognize. 50% nearly have downloaded an extension to their web browser. Okay. 7 in 10 have deleted files accidentally. 25% of people have lost data in the Google or Microsoft Office 365 suite. Real numbers. Clyde says all. So I hope that's thought-provoking. I've slightly overrun. Apologies, because there might now be some questions, of which I perhaps would say, if you're wondering who the good, the bad, and the ugly was, yeah, okay, we can have the last laugh. It's me. So we've gone through the whole thing. That's the lot. Probably the daftest question of all. Are there any questions?